Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Aftershow for Veiltorn, our grand finale. This one is live. There are quite a few questions in chat, but I don't know if there's anything that each of you guys kind of want to talk about a little bit, and we'll go around in a circle. I see Benthem put his hand up, then Chuck. We'll just go around and let everybody say something. So go for it, Benthem.
Okay, so I rolled a d4 and like, because Mentala I didn't know which option to go with, and like genuinely was like, I hate this situation. I hate that I have to choose. Why does this keep happening where I have to make these choices between worlds? God damn it. And so the d4 was to roll something that I never actually decided, because I wanted to focus on exploring Mentala's sort of personal like journey and like his relationship with Red and stuff, was where his parents live. So I rolled a d4, and on a 1, they lived in LA, and he would have sided with Azuka. Because he absolutely understood why Azuka made that choice. Like, your family is here, totally get it, very fair, would be on your side, but I have to choose the other side because I trust Kyoko. And like, because that was why he asked, like, is it like the train? Because he was like, Kyoko clearly knows something that I don't. Something has happened recently. It's like, is it like the train? It is. Okay, I trust you. This is what we're doing. Dude, but if his parents lived in LA, he would have been like, no, I don't care. I'm saving them.
Yeah, Chuck knew nothing about the train, but before he even walked in there, his mind was set on destroy the emeralds, you'd stop everything. And so when he walked in, the Ifrit already had that in his head because they are one before they walked in. So when they split, Chuck's whole idea was get Cade off of the emeralds so then he could shoot the emeralds or the Ifrit, but he didn't know he'd split. So once he split, the Ifrit was like, okay, destroy the emeralds. But that's what Chuck's going to do, so I'm going to do something else while Chuck's trying to do that.
Yeah.
What about you, Drac?
I had several things in mind, because I knew that there was a chance of PvP, and then when it became very evident, I kind of leaned into it. And I thought it would be interesting. This is like my fanfic. I'm gonna write a fanfic about this, about what happens after this. Because not too long ago we had a discussion with Belial about what death is for devils, and how if they're killed anywhere but hell, they just appear in hell again. And my fanfic is definitely gonna just follow the idea of maybe he just appears in hell. Because he has consumed Belial. It's become not just a thing in him, but is part of him. It is him now. So that's kind of been my thing that I've been thinking about the entire time when that came up. And then when Maggie was like, jokingly was like, eat it, I was like, no, that's fully what I planned on doing, because I had this like floating around in my head this entire time.
I didn't say it. I just went like behind the scenes on my own.
I was so happy the moment you did that, because I'm like, the nemesis thing, full circle.
Yeah.
So I tried to put as many like full circle moments as we could. Mentala's purpose for having the path energy, Kyoko's purpose for being here, Azuka, the person who denied the devil, then choosing the devil and accepting of oneself and coming together as this full thing, and then Chuck being separated in his dark and light, literally the man in shadows who had a sun inside them, and like all of these things coming together and finally being able to work side by side with that. So
for me, the thing that helped with my decision was like, if I felt that my past self had done everything in her power, so much that she would die for it, and find any way to get back to me in this time and space, and also during the train and things like that, it's like, I must have tried everything. I must have done everything. This must be the path that has to be taken. Mm-hmm. This is the choice I have to make. And so like before she even stepped into that the tear, or like whatever the opening was, the window, she knew what her decision was, which was let Cade do the thing. But there was in no way, shape, or form, she had no plan to ever hurt or harm any of her friends. Like, she loves Azuka, and she cares a lot for Chuck and Min. There's no way she would ever try to harm any of you. And she tried her best. Like, I don't think she did any harm to anybody. Like, she wasn't trying to. She was just trying to, like, stop you, pause you, buy time for Cade. And, like, if it went another round, then she was going to explode and do the last things I have left are really high damage things, like 7d6 damage, mental damage things. Like, if she has to, she will, but she was not wanting to do that at all.
If Mentala had never gone down, Cade would never have joined the fight and have been there to hold. Like, there were so many factors that came into him actually leaving away from the Emeralds to do that.
I want to grab some questions from
by
chat.
the way,
What?
in a turn took me from 72 to 3.
That was wild. The Freedy was so much damage.
That is a weakened Freedy, by the way.
There are some questions in chat.
And I couldn't heal enough.
Yeah.
One is from Hero Sheep. Thank you, Hero. Hero wants to know, Kai Bear, is there a tear-related item in the vault where they were trying to get into? I'm not sure what that meant. But.
Talking about the legend.
When they were in Vegas, their main objective was to get into a vault in the middle of the Luxor. Because there was a vault on a naval base there, and they needed to go do some stuff. There was a hint to Project Manhattan for you guys to get. That was your little insight that you would have gotten.
And then the next
question was theorizing in the
from,
Discord while this was going that was a magical nuke.
Then the next thing was from Papa Tim asking, what happened to the city? Is it also nuked or saved?
Who knows?
He's leaving. I think he's going to write a proposal for the next season, you guys.
I don't know.
There was another question related to that. What happened to Cade?
That's a good one.
So I did roll for him, right? Like, I saw that message and I did roll for him, and stuff happened.
Stuff happened.
Okay.
Interesting.
I mean,
he's already lost 2 limbs.
It's stuff that can be answered in another way at another time in another game.
Okay.
But he did not roll below a 30.
All right.
All right.
Anyone else have anything they were going to share? I think for me, I really wasn't expecting Mentala to switch sides. That was wild.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
It was tough. I was like, I hate both options. They're both terrible, but I ended up, I was like, I'm going to trust Kyoko and I'm going to trust Cade.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting because I think Azuka, because this entire campaign, there was definitely like a love between Azuka and Kyoko. They always butted heads when it came to what fate was and meant. So it's really interesting to see that come to a head right at the end. Because I came into it as there is a way. Like, sure, you tried many, but there are many plus one. But seeing
you try using your 9 lives to frickin' save the universe, go for it.
I mean, as he thinks there is a way, and that's why he fought for it. Because he had no intention of being like, I'm just gonna save LA. Like, that was never an intention for him, or even me as a player. Like, even I had like ideas roaming around in my head of how maybe we could save both. But it didn't make sense for Azuka to already have those ideas.
There was a way,
especially in the Hero moment. Yeah. So he was like, there is a way to do this. We just need to find it.
So behind the scenes, since there's no way this could ever be a thing, if Mentala had gotten to the Emeralds and rolled well enough, he could have diverted the path energy in a way.
I had an idea with Chuck,
thing.
But Chuck died before, and we were running out of time.
That's why Mentala said it to Cade, is like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it better because it's in my bones, you know. That's like it's who
magic missile. And then he just got
yeah.
The magic missile was like.
But that's the thing is like I was like, I think there's a way, but also I picked my side and I'm fighting. Min didn't say anything pretty much during the fight. Like, he said sorry to Azuka and he said that one thing to Cade, and the rest of the time he was just fighting. It's like, I'm not going to try and persuade anyone. I understand why they've all made decisions. I'm just going to keep punching people till they go down, and then I'm going to hope that I can also I can do the Emeralds thing, and then also nobody dies. But it's probably not going to happen. We're just going to see.
In all fairness,
the last thing that he was going to do was when he went back up from being healed. He was going to summon Red, and then he changed his mind because he didn't want Red to see this, and then he was just going to frost the Ifriti instead and just do it on his own.
Yeah.
If Cade hadn't pulled you out of the Ifrit's hand, he was going to fly towards the emeralds with you in his hand.
But then consistently
Azuka was
burning
like,
him the entire time.
The entire time. Azuka was fully like, because I definitely played it in like, because I don't think it really comes up that often. Like it does occasionally, but like Azuka's been technically training as a martial artist all his life.
Mhm.
Initially for like a way to like release the anger, but like even in that he's incredibly skilled at fighting, and then getting to use drawn from anger without the negative of having to roll those will saves was ridiculous, because I was rolling, my plus was 20 for my first attack.
That was just wild.
So like I had to roll pretty bad to miss.
I was like, I'm like, if he gets a couple crits on me, this is not gonna go well. That's why I was like, I just gotta try to weaken you as much as possible. But I know your saves are so good too. Ugh.
I'd only just noticed how powerful Gouging Claw is.
Yeah.
Like I'd been using like Produce Flame in my fist this entire time, and I was like, wait a second, Gouging Claw, what does that do? 3d6? And then if I crit, they get a 3d4 persistent bleed.
Yeah, I'm like,
why haven't I been using that this entire time?
Yeah, I was like, what? That's why I was like, wait, I hadn't seen you use this ever before. That's why I was like, you had to use this on top of everything else? I was confused.
The fun part is, if Azuka and Cade ever got into a fight, for your Arcane Cascade, I gave him, what was it, Blink Charge. You have Gouging Claw, he has Gouging Claw, all the things that he taught you. Into your spells, and I was like, I'm going to show you the upgraded versions. Like it would have been.
The chat wants to know if there was there a way that we could save everybody?
Mintala.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The only thing
if I nailed it,
getting Cade away from the emeralds, because in his mind, I'm the only one smart enough to do this. So you'd have had to either knock him out or convince him, and then get Mintala there, buff him up with some kind of things like you did for the door. But the door was kind of Mintala can manipulate this. And with everybody doing these things, he could do it really well. This is what he's built
you should have
for.
told me. I could have helped you on that front.
The
We were in
main
the fight,
conversation
too
went
late.
to,
Yeah. It was
as
just
it
wild.
always does, it's us against you. So.
And Kyoko was just trying to hold everybody off. And I'm sure Mintala just was like focused on trying to get to the door or the portal thing.
Yeah.
God, it's good stuff.
I felt bad as Drac immediately putting Mintala back down. But it was definitely like a strategic thing. Initially, the strategy Azuka had gone with was take out the healer. And that's why he immediately went for Kyoko. Because I think in any other situation, he would have gone for Cade.
Yep.
But having a healer there just makes Cade stronger, technically. So he was like, I need to take out Kyoko.
Which totally makes sense.
Makes sense,
because
Yeah.
the way your mom trained you, you know how to fight against multiple combatants. Cade, who taught you magic, was the magical researcher for Kyle for military stuff, which is how he knows all of this. So him teaching you all of this stuff would be like, all right, if you see this, you know, you got, it's like you are this binding of everybody together.
Yeah.
Also, you're like the counter to me because I can't, like, melee damage is my weakness for sure.
Yeah.
Like mental stuff, anything like, and even in the middle of all that, Kyoko's pretty calm. She was just like, please, everybody, calm down. Let's not fight. We don't need to do this.
Down.
Meanwhile, people are dying.
Die.
Yeah.
Was it the last thing that Azuka did in that moment, shutting out Kyoko before the blast went off?
Yes.
So your last action was nope.
And I think the thing is though,
So
he
sad.
had noped way before then.
Yeah.
Like when I described his eyes deadening, like he had noped way before that. It was honestly more like this fly keeps buzzing in my face. I'm gonna kill it with the closing it up. Like I don't want it buzzing in my face anymore.
And I know maybe
Got very Belial
viewers
very
might.
quick.
I know
Yeah.
viewers might think like, oh, why didn't she just get involved in the fight? It's like, because that's not what Kyoko has always stated, even from the beginning. Like, fighting is not what, like, there has to be another option than fighting. Like, there has to be a way for us to, like, do these things without killing each other. Like, she just doesn't, that's not her thing. She doesn't want to do it. And she was trying, like, of all the people, she thought she could get to Azuka because she's been the closest to Azuka.
Yeah.
And that shutting out was like, she's like, then this is the way.
And I'm honestly surprised that it came to blows between you guys, because I wasn't designing this to be a PvP fight. I thought it would be a conversation for you guys to
Still
go
a
in.
better love story than Twilight.
Oh man.
There is a question here about everybody's thoughts on Pathfinder 2, because I think some people have not played 2e before. So I don't know if you guys want to kind of like talk a little bit about the system and your thoughts. I definitely have some thoughts, but I've played it before prior to this.
I believe that Pathfinder 2e has wonderful like bones, like the framework is there, but sometimes some of the rules get a little too into the weeds and into unnecessary detail, to where, in my opinion, D&D leaves things a little ambiguous and up to interpretation by the people playing. So I guess it's in your own way. You can play the game to your own specificity. And Pathfinder does. If you want strict rules of how everything's supposed to go, then yes. But there's very little, like Tyler was saying earlier, there's little rolls against rolls, which I like. Of like talent and the character's luck also playing into account. Everything felt very DC heavy.
Yeah, because for me, when you're having something pull against something else, that's like you're literally, it's a tug of war, not, oh, you beat my DC.
Yeah.
The
roll-offs are fun.
Yeah. My other thing with it is like it has that, but I also like how unforgiving it is compared to D&D. I think D&D, especially 5e, is too forgiving to where, oh, you long rest. Oh, you're totally fine. It's like, no, healing takes a while. The technical rules in 2e is you roll for like healing and stuff like that. I like how much more brutal it is because that's, to me, more realistic for how a story should be.
That's funny because for me, we did Ascension D&D like shortly before we started this show, and in that it was like turned up to 15. So like going through the combat in this, I'm like, oh, this is easy. Like I can just kind of do stuff, and like I can do thematic things. Whereas like when we were playing Ascension, it's like, how do I not die right now?
I think that's the difference.
But it's because it was like turned up like it was like
I think that's like if you play Pathfinder in the same way that we played D&D, it would be like exponentially harder.
We just die.
So
it is, but it's funny just because it's like I get what you mean, but it's funny because we just came from D&D where it was like hyper difficult, like hard mode.
We were playing it
Iron
to the
Man.
rules. Like if it wasn't written in the rules the certain way, like the GM did not allow you to do stuff. So it's like very different than the way that you were playing this.
It was like battle maps and like swarms of enemies and terror.
I would rather tell a better story than fight a better fight. You know? Like I would rather you guys have a little bit more control to express how you believe your character would act in that scenario, even if it goes beyond what the rules say you're allowed to do.
I think there's a balance.
I felt like I could waste actions doing things that like were interesting and were in character and told a story rather than like having to fight for my life. And both are like cool. I had fun with both of those campaigns, but it was nice in this one to be like, I can like do a min thing instead of like the thing I need to win.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I like both because I do love the challenge aspect of like if everyone comes into it knowing like, hey, this is how we're gonna play. We're gonna be very rules lawyer heavy. That's the vibe we're going for. Or if we're going like, hey, we're gonna go a little bit more lax with it. Like I like both styles, but as long as I'm coming into it with the agreement and I understand that we're getting into that, then I'm cool.
Yeah. And if you swapped the styles with the systems, then the D&D would be boring and the Pathfinder would kill you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the perfect system is somewhere between the two.
I like the multi-action.
Really
I like that you get to do 3 actions. Like that's so cool, and you have like a bunch of different varieties, and there's some balance of like how much power like 1 to 2 to 3 actions is.
Yeah,
and I really do like that.
Love the freedom.
I like that
really
because
enjoy,
it qualifies like how much focus one thing needs versus another type of action. Like shooting a gun is quick and easy, while trying to cast a more complex spell takes more actions because it makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm really like, I'm personally, so weirdly enough, I'm really a big fan of how much rules there are for like different things. Because like there's a feat for everything. Like you can have a thing that, like in D&D, you have very few feats, and all of them are usually combat based anyway. Whereas Pathfinder has a lot that works outside of combat and like just social, and it kind of like a lot of the time if you were like, hey, can I do this thing? They'd be like, okay, sure, roll for it, or no, you can't do that. It doesn't say in the rules. But in Pathfinder, there's a rule for everything that you can do that. Because there's been a lot, like for example, in combat, being really high charisma is really useful. Like deception, calling deceptions, being quick on your feet. Like you don't even need to. Being terrifying is mechanically useful in combat, which isn't the case for D&D unless you just have a really cool GM. But in Pathfinder, that's built into the system. And I think that's like the biggest like thing that I loved about it. That there's so many. They make everything relevant in every way. It can be used outside of combat and in combat, which isn't always the case for D&D.
Right.
And it's way more customizable.
For my last thing, because we have to wrap up our after show here, is tell us one thing that you want to make sure that is shared with our audience in regards to like campaign, your thoughts, whatever you want to do. We'll go around. I think we'll start with Kai. He's got his hand up. I feel like he's wanting to say something, or he's twirling his beard. I'm not sure.
When I think I do this and I just grab and tug, come back to me. Oh God.
Okay. Does anyone have? Okay, Bentham's got one. Go for it, Bentham.
That's the thing I wanted to say about Min is that I felt like the story got wrapped up so perfectly in a bow for him, in that he found his purpose. Like he looked into the tower and he's like, that's why I'm here. That's why I exist. The previous tower made me, and this tower will unmake me, as it turns out. And so I love that, like, I just got to, like, go in there and then, die in, like, this confluence of, like, path energy and, like, literally die in the middle of a new tear. It's, like, it works so perfectly. Also, I got to summon a living boulder. I was trying to do that for, like, half a season.
For Chuck...
Okay.
Oh, Zuka, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
God, I said the
Drac, you're now Azuka.
I'm now Azuka. Azuka died and then came back to life in the real world. My thing I would like everyone to know was that before this episode, I didn't think it was going to go into PvP. I only really caught on when future Kyoka came. I was like, okay, it's going to go into PvP. But beforehand, I had fully planned, after everything went down, if we had survived, Azuka was going to ask Kyoka out on a date. I'd fully planned for that to happen.
Oh, that would have been so cute.
I'm like fully ready to be rejected.
Yes.
So I don't think he knows. Yeah, but he wasn't sure if that she was into him. But he was fully like ready to ask them out. And I think like the day before had told his parents, and his parents were very excited. And we're like giving him tips and picked out some clothes for him to wear if she said yes to the day and everything. But that's never gonna happen. At least not in this game. Maybe in fanfics.
And Kyoko wakes up in another universe like Kyoko wakes up in the other universe like I had a date.
For Chuck, there was a key reason why he said, I'm finally going to live. And in that is he's finally going to die. Something that has been haunting him since the tear had happened is the fact that he was still alive, and the weight that the burden of all the people he killed while he was still doing it to knock off the mafia and avenging his parents and trying to get back at Geo. Well, not get back at Geo because of avenging Geo. Once he hung the hat up, he was horribly the weight. It's when you're killing, for him, it was just like you're in the heat of battle. It makes sense. But the instant he hung up his hat, and the reason Percy is so close with him is because he literally could not die. And he was carrying the weight of all of the violence that he had instilled in the world. And so, in that of itself, the bond with the Ifrit, the instant he was in there, he knew. The instant he split, the only thing he cared about was either the Ifrit living or the people he cared about in that combat surviving in some way, and making sure Percy and the people of LA were okay. And so that spike and everything, when he went, he had a smile on his face. He finally found the peace that he wanted because he felt he was owed death for all the death that he had caused the world.
I love that means that there's like these two fights going on, this like super emotional fight between Kyoko and Azuka, like that's got so much weight to it. And then with Chuck and Mentala, it's two men who just decided they're ready to die, also fighting each other for the opposite sides too.
I think the thing I want to bring as my last thought is, if you remember reading Kyoko's backstory, I've mentioned it a few times throughout episodes too, I think Kai has as well, that Kyoko would get sick often. And now having the realization that that's like a temporal shift, that because she's got a curse about time, that it's maybe a future path where she does get the plague. And it's kind of like this warning sign to her that like, hey, something's coming. And I think like the moment where I asked, hey, normally I feel really sick when things like at this catastrophic level are happening. Why don't I feel that way right now? And Kai was like, well, you see yourself. And it's like this whole, everything just like washing over, I think was like a very interesting moment to make a very, very unique decision that had to be played. And oof, that was wild. I really enjoyed it. You all are amazing. Sometimes whenever you get into PvP fights with players, if they're not all very comfortable with each other, it can be really like dramatic. There can be like bleed that happens and people, but I feel like everyone here really understood and like was like, I'm playing my character T. We all understood that.
Yeah.
There was no harm or hurt in anyone's. And I think like that to me is like, I just respect you all. And I think like that was really cool to play and see that shift. And Kai,
That was great.
We're saving you for last night. Did you get enough time to think? He's like, I have so many things.
There's 1,000 things that I could talk about because I wrote probably 5 to 10 times more than I needed for this in the world. And I think I just want to like reward the people that stayed to the end of the after show and give them a little epilogue of
Ooh,
some
yeah.
things.
Do you need a certain type of music for this epilogue?
Just this sad, somber end kind of thing.
All right.
Eyes open up to a dark stone roof with steel and barbed iron going around the entirety of this room. You're laying down on carpet, and next to you, you see cobblestone. As Azuka opens their eyes and looks out a nearby window to an orange sky with flames falling down. As he rights himself up, he looks up to see a pale-skinned, long black hair, gilded armored man sitting at a throne as Asmodeus is staring at you. He says, "Belial, you look different." Pan away.
Oh, shit.
And the last
All right.
thing would be seeing the astral sea as the veins of ley line energy going through all of it. As the camera pushes into one of those rivers of energy, you hear a little bit of laughter in the consciousness that is now floating around this endless ocean, exploring everything, maybe playing a trick every now and then. Then we fade out.
Sick. Well, with that, thank you all for joining our after shows. Sometimes we do give little tidbits in after shows that you don't see on the live shows. So if you are interested, heading on over to our Patreon and supporting us is a great way. That also helps us pay for our cast in order for us to keep shows rolling. I know that we've been down to one show. We haven't had as much Patreon support, but if you loved this story, we have so many more stories to show. Bentham and I have already been planning our next one, Project Morana, that's coming, and we have 2 or 3 more that are in the works, and we're very, very excited about those in the upcoming years. That's how far away we are right now, which is wild. Thank you so much. And obviously, if we get more support faster, then we can do those more quickly because we can support those shows faster. Just an FYI. But thanks, everybody. We will see you next week for our Throwback Thursday. We're doing some 7 Wonders goodness. And our next show that will be a whole series will be on the 10th of August with a whole new cast. All right. See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.